Hello everyone, before we begin today's video, I need your help. We've noticed that the channel is losing traction, and subscribing is one of the best ways you can help us. It's quick, free, and allows us to continue bringing you great content. Your support means everything. Let's keep this channel growing collectively. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now, let's get back to the story. Yuna, open this door. Right now. The shout cracked down the penthouse corridor like thunder trapped indoors. Warm light from crystal sconces glazed polished wood in framed art that cost more than most people made in a year. The carpet was thick enough to swallow ordinary footsteps, but it couldn't swallow his. Jaemin Kong didn't walk, he announced. 36, black suit cut sharp, hair slicked back like control itself. A serpent tattoo curled up his neck and vanished beneath his collar like it knew where the bodies were buried. He slammed his fist against the door again. Brass hardware rattled once, then held. Locked. Don't pretend you can't hear me, he snarled, mouth inches from the wood. I know you're in there. He'd come home early. No warning. No text. No schedule. Because in his world, surprise was a leash. Yank it hard enough and everyone jumped. Then, behind him, heels touched hardwood. Not rushing. Not scrambling. 2 measured steps, calm and exact, like whoever was approaching had already decided how this ended. Jaemin spun around. A black woman stood a few feet away in a crisp maid's uniform, white cuffs, black jacket, hair pinned into a clean bun. Her posture was straight. Her face was composed, but it wasn't the composure of someone timid. It was trained composure. Her name was Amara James. 33. In a building like Sterling Heights, people saw her uniform and wrote the rest of her story for her. Jaemin did too. You, he barked, pointing like she was furniture that had moved without permission. Why is my wife hiding behind a locked door? Who's in there with her? Amara's eyes flicked once to the door. Once to his fist. Then back to his face, steady, unblinking. Sir. Amara stepped in just close enough that only he could hear her. Her voice dropped to a whisper, controlled, final. Be quiet. A beat. Lower your voice. Jaemin let out a short, ugly laugh. You don't tell me what to do. You work here. So you will open that door. He stepped past her, hand reaching for the handle again, shoulder forward, mouth already shaping another shout loud enough to make the whole floor remember him. Amara moved. Not with panic. Not with anger. With timing. She slid into his space and used his momentum against him, one controlled step, a soft leverage hold, the kind taught in real crisis de-escalation because it ends problems without bruises. Her palm covered his mouth for barely 2 seconds, just long enough to cut the sound before it could explode down the hall. Her other hand anchored at his shoulder line so he couldn't jerk free and slam into the door. No spectacle. No injury. Just sudden, surgical silence. Jaemin's eyes widened, not from pain. From disbelief. Because the world had never trained him for this, being quieted by someone he'd already dismissed. Amara leaned in, voice barely above breath. Be quiet. 2 words. Soft as velvet. Heavy as a gavel. Behind the door, something shifted, paper sliding across a table, a chair repositioned. No frantic footsteps. No sobbing. Just the kind of quiet you hear when something official is happening. Amara released him immediately and stepped between him and the door like a human boundary line. Hands down. expression unchanged. Jamin swallowed, furious at himself for reacting. "Who the hell do you think you are?" he hissed. Amara held his stare. "I'm the reason," she said, "you're still standing out here." It didn't sound like a threat. It sounded like math. Before we continue, where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. And if you believe in dignity and justice, hit like and subscribe. These stories spark change. And we're glad you're here. Now, back to Amara. Jamin's gaze snapped to the door again like he could burn through it. He reached for the handle a third time, slower now, like he was negotiating with reality. Amara didn't touch him again. She didn't need to. "If you interrupt," she said, "you'll make this worse for yourself." He scoffed. "You think I'm afraid of you?" Her tone sharpened by a fraction. "I think you're afraid of what's printing on the other side of that door." A small sound floated through the wood. A printer starting up. In a penthouse. At night. It was almost polite, and that made it worse. Printing meant documents. Documents meant records. Records meant consequences, the kind that didn't care about his reputation or his volume. Then Yuna's voice came through the door, clear enough to cut. Not shaking. Not pleading. "Come. Make sure he doesn't interrupt," Yuna said. "Not until the paperwork is complete." Jamin's face tightened. Jealousy wasn't the emotion now. Fear was. Not fear of losing her. Fear of losing control. He leaned toward Amara, lowering his voice as if volume could buy him back his position. "Tell me what's going on," he demanded. Amara's gaze stayed level. "You came home early," she said. "That was your choice." "I'm her husband," he snapped, as if the title should unlock doors. "And tonight," Amara replied, "that doesn't mean what you think it means." His fingers twitched, the old reflex. Break it. Take it. Own it. Amara watched that reflex like she'd seen it before. "If you break that door," she said, "you'll walk into something you can't undo." Jamin's nostrils flared. "Who's in there with her?" Amara answered without emotion. "People who don't raise their voices." The corridor went still, like the building itself was listening for what he'd do next. Because Jamin Khan had built his life on control, and control didn't tolerate locked doors. It also didn't tolerate wives who got quiet. For weeks, Yuna had worn her composure differently, sharper. At dinner she stopped filling silence. She let it exist. She let him sit inside it with nothing to hold. She set her phone face down on the counter, not hiding it, not guarding it, just placing it like a closed book. He'd asked with a smile that always came before the leash tightened. "You've been busy," he said, swirling whiskey like the glass owed him answers. "New hobby?" Yuna looked at him for 1 second too long. "Something like that," she replied. Not a lie. Not the truth. Just a sentence that offered him nothing. Men like Jamin didn't fear being left. They feared being made irrelevant. So he bought certainty. A fixer. A report. A pattern. "She's meeting someone," the fixer said. "Same building. Same elevator bank. Always after 8. "A man?" Jamin asked. "Couldn't confirm," the fixer answered. "But she's not meeting friends. She's not shopping." In Jamin's mind, betrayal didn't require proof. It required a story that protected his ego. And in that story, someone had to be beneath him. Someone to blame. Someone like the help. Earlier that day, Sterling Heights looked like a museum built to flatter the rich. Marble floors reflected your shoes. A chandelier hung like a promise. The concierge desk was staffed by smiles sharpened into weapons, warm enough to disarm, cold enough to cut. Amara walked through the revolving doors without hesitation. She wasn't wearing the maid uniform then. She wore a simple black blazer, clean lines, no loud labels. A leather tote. Hair in the same neat bun. Minimal jewelry. The kind of look that didn't beg for attention because it didn't need permission. Heads turned anyway. Not because she was stunning. Because she was black. And in rooms like this, people noticed blackness first the way they notice smoke, like it might mean something was burning. Caldwell spotted her before she reached the elevators. Mid-40s. Crisp suit. Smile practiced like a sales pitch. He slid into her path with the smooth confidence of a man who'd never been questioned in his own domain. "Good morning," he said, eyes flicking to her tote, her shoes, her face. "Staff entrance is around the back." Amara stopped, polite. "I'm here for a meeting upstairs." Caldwell's smile stayed in place, but something behind it tightened. "Which meeting?" he asked, already certain of the answer. 9:30. Operations. Caldwell let out a small amused breath. "Operations has a list," he said. "And you're not on it." The way he said "you're" carried judgment he'd never confess out loud. Amara didn't argue. She let the moment hang long enough for the lobby to feel its shape. A couple glanced over, then away. The receptionist kept typing like discrimination was background music. Caldwell lifted 2 fingers toward the security podium. "Malik," he called casually. "Can you escort her to the service entrance?" Malik Brooks looked up. 29. Broad-shouldered. Calm eyes. The posture of a man trained to protect people and the expression of a man tired of protecting pride. He stepped out, scanning Amara once, not searching for weakness. Reading the room. "Ma'am," Malik said professionally, "can I see your badge?" Amara reached into her tote and produced a slim matte black card. Caldwell leaned in, expecting a temp logo. He didn't get one. His pupils pinched as he read the embossed letters. He swallowed. This isn't standard," he stammered. "It wasn't designed for standard people," Amara replied. Caldwell laughed too quickly, trying to joke his way out of discomfort. "Well, regardless, policy is policy. If you're here for policy," Amara repeated softly. "Good." She turned to Malik. "I won't be using the back in trance." Malik hesitated, then pressed his earpiece. "Security to executive reception," he said. "Verification request." A pause. Static. Then a voice came through, tight, urgent. "Escort her to executive reception. Immediately. The CEO is expecting her. Do not delay her." Caldwell's smile froze. Amara didn't react. She simply watched the moment land, watched the lobby temperature shift as people realized they'd been wrong about her. Malik's posture adjusted, respect settling into place. Caldwell swallowed hard. I didn't realize," he whispered. "That's the problem," Amara said. and she walked toward the elevators like the marble had always belonged under her feet. Because it had. Not as a guest. As an audit. Sterling Hospitality Group ran discreet compliance checks, mystery guest operations, to see how people were treated when the building believed nobody important was watching. Uniforms made people careless. And careless people told the truth out loud. By evening, that truth connected to another. A private message came through Sterling's compliance channel, careful, coded, exhausted. I need to speak to someone who won't dismiss me. I have records. I'm not safe. Amara recognized the cadence. Not drama. Not revenge. Procedure. She verified identity and met Una quietly, off-camera, off-schedule, in a neutral space where power couldn't perform. Una didn't cry. She didn't scream. Her voice was controlled in the way a voice becomes controlled when screaming never helps. I can't leave like a normal person, Una said. He'll follow me. He'll punish me. He'll rewrite the story until I'm the villain. Amara's reply was simple. Then we don't do normal, she said. We do documented. A secured room. Legal counsel. A controlled hallway with cameras that couldn't be bribed into forgetting. A corporate investigator who didn't believe in loud men. And yes, a uniform again, because Jamin would show his real face to the help. Now, back in the corridor, the printer stopped. Silence settled like a final line drawn in ink. Then the lock turned. The door opened only a few inches at first, spilling a clean strip of bright interior light into the hallway. Office light. The kind that made paper look unforgiving. A man appeared in the gap, late 30s, suit slightly rumpled, eyes sharp and tired like he'd been awake for something that mattered. A badge flashed as he widened the opening. Detective Alvarez didn't step out like he was entering a fight. He stepped out like he was entering a file. Mr. Kong, he said calmly, we need to speak with you. Jamin blinked, thrown off by the sheer wrongness of the scene. No half-dressed stranger. No chaos. Just a detective. A lawyer inside with a laptop. And Una standing by a folding table with neatly stacked documents like she'd been waiting for this moment instead of fearing it. What is this? Jamin snapped. Who are you to stand in my home? This is an investigation, Alvarez replied. Your wife has provided documentation. We're here to ensure no evidence is destroyed. Footsteps rushed from the elevator bank. Caldwell arrived first, breathless. Malik followed, steady, hand near his radio. Caldwell's eyes bounced from Jamin to Alvarez to the open door, then landed on Amara and widened with panic, like his brain was finally catching up to the day's earlier humiliation. Detective, I wasn't informed, Caldwell stammered. You weren't supposed to be, Alvarez said without looking at him. Jamin stepped toward the door, anger rising like it always did when the world didn't obey. Una, he hissed, voice turning syrupy and sharp, what did you do? Una's face didn't change. I stopped waiting for you to become safe, she said. You're embarrassing me, he snapped. In my own residence? I'm not embarrassing you, Una replied. I'm documenting you. Jamin's eyes cut to Amara. You set this up, he spat. Your staff. You're nothing. Caldwell latched onto the word like it could save him. She's staff, Caldwell blurted. This is inappropriate. Alvarez finally looked at him. Not anger. Dismissal. Then Alvarez looked back to Amara, respectful and direct. "Miss James," he said, "we're ready when you are." The air changed. Jamin's gaze snapped to Alvarez. "Miss James," he echoed. Amara stepped into the strip of light. The uniform didn't shrink her. It never had. She reached into her inner pocket and pulled out a slim matte black card holder. No flourish. No performance. Just clean reality. Amara James, Chief Executive Officer, Sterling Hospitality Group. Caldwell went pale so fast it looked like the blood fled in shame. Jamin stared at the card like it was counterfeit. "No," he said, small and involuntary. "This property is managed by Sterling Hospitality Group," Amara said evenly. "Including this corridor, these cameras, and the access logs you assumed didn't matter." Jamin tried to regain height with volume. "This is ridiculous," he barked. "You can't just..." Alvarez cut in, calm as a locked door. "Mr. Kong, we have an emergency preservation order signed tonight by a judge," he said. "Legal holds apply. Financial institutions are notified. Evidence preservation is mandatory." "You can't freeze my accounts," Jamin snapped. "Not on my mood," Alvarez replied. "On a judge's order." The attorney stepped forward, voice crisp. "This is a controlled scene," she said. "Any attempt to intimidate a witness or destroy evidence will be documented." Jamin's eyes flicked to the ceiling corners. Cameras blinked red. Quiet witnesses that didn't forget. He turned to Yuna again, lowering his voice into poisoned tenderness. "You're really doing this," he said. "After everything I gave you." "You didn't give," Yuna replied. "You controlled. And you called it love." Amara's voice landed like a seal. "You pay," she said softly, "to live in places like this." She angled her chin toward the cameras. "But you never owned the records." Alvarez nodded toward the elevator bank. Two plainclothes officers waited, present and calm. "Mr. Kong," Alvarez said, "please step forward." Jamin's instinct was to explode, make it messy enough to rewrite later. But the hallway gave him nothing. Malik stood steady, ready to de-escalate for safety, not pride. Caldwell looked like a man watching his career slide off a cliff in slow motion. Yuna didn't move. Amara didn't flinch. So Jamin did the one thing loud men hate. He complied. They didn't drag him. No spectacle. Just procedure, doors opening and closing in the right order. In the elevator, Jamin stared at his reflection like he could intimidate it into changing. He caught Yuna's reflection too calm, unbroken. He wanted her to cry. She didn't. The doors closed softly, sealing him into a process he couldn't threaten. Downstairs, a conference room became a staging area. Laptops opened. Folders aligned. A printer hummed again, this time not for drama, for process. Alvarez sat across from Jamin. "We're going to ask you questions," he said. "I want my lawyer," Jamin sneered. "You can have one," Alvarez replied. "That doesn't stop preservation." Jamin's phone buzzed. The message was short and surgical. "Account access limited. Contact your financial institution." For most people, inconvenience. For Jamin, humiliation with numbers attached. His attorney arrived and started to talk until he saw the file charts, timestamps, property ties, transfer patterns that looked like fingerprints. "This is extensive," the attorney muttered. Alvarez didn't gloat. "Extensive is what happens," he said, "when someone thinks nobody is watching." Upstairs, Una sat in a neutral office with Sterling's legal team. No penthouse glamour. No marble intimidation. Just a clean desk, a glass of water, and papers that made her life quiet again. "This is the protective order," her attorney said. "He can't contact you directly. He can't access your personal accounts. He can't enter the residence without notice. If he violates it, law enforcement responds." Una read every line like she was reading a weather report that finally predicted sunlight. "He'll try to spin it," she said softly. "He can try," the attorney replied. "But he can't spin bank statements." The next morning, Amara convened an executive meeting. No speeches. No theatrics. Decisions. "We're rewriting front-of-house protocols," she said. "Anti-bias training is mandatory. Security escalation procedures updated. Mystery guest compliance checks routine." An executive shifted. "Is this necessary?" "It wasn't an incident," Amara replied. "It was a symptom." She slid a folder across the table. "If someone can be denied dignity based on appearance," she said, "this building is unsafe legally, ethically, reputationally." No one argued after that, because she wasn't speaking in morals alone. She was speaking in consequences. Then she turned to Malik. "I reviewed the footage and your decisions," she said. "You requested verification instead of blindly obeying. You de-escalated. You protected the building without protecting bias." "Yes, ma'am," Malik said, steady. "Effective immediately," Amara said, "you're promoted to head of security operations for Sterling Heights." The room shifted quietly. Because promotions in rooms like that usually went to proximity, not integrity. Amara didn't do proximity. She did proof. Later, Caldwell was brought in through HR and legal. His smile cracked the second he tried to wear it. "I want to apologize," he began. "I didn't know." "You keep saying that," Amara replied. "I was following protocol." "Protocol didn't instruct you to treat dignity like it had a dress code," Amara said. "That was your choice." His eyes shimmered with panic. "I can change," he whispered. "I believe you can," Amara said. "But belief doesn't undo damage." She slid a document across the desk. "Administrative leave pending investigation. Immediate removal from duty. Compliance review." Caldwell stared at it like it was written in a language he didn't deserve to understand. This is the cost of being careless with people," Amara said. His hand trembled as he signed, not agreeing, admitting. Weeks passed quietly, relentlessly. Jamin's world tightened. Partners returned calls slower. Some didn't return them at all. Doors that used to swing open for him started closing politely. He tried to treat it like a bad weekend. A storm he could outspend. But systems don't get intimidated. His attorney leaned in one afternoon, voice low. "This isn't gossip," he said. "It's documented." "Then make it go away," Jamin hissed. His attorney paused. "I can't make records disappear," he said. "Not when they're held by systems that don't belong to you." At the first hearing, there was no theatrical explosion. Just fluorescent light, careful facts, and a judge who didn't care how loud Jamin used to be. Jamin glanced back, expecting worship. He felt distance. People weren't looking at him like a king. They were looking at him like a risk. Back at Sterling Heights, the internal review finished. Caldwell's administrative leave became termination not for one moment, but for a pattern now visible in full. He requested one last meeting with Amara. He entered like a man walking into a confession. "I'm sorry," he said. If you just treated a black woman like she belonged in the front of her own building?" Amara asked softly. "Yes," he whispered. "I accept your apology," Amara said. "And I'm still holding you accountable." "I'm losing everything," Caldwell muttered. "You're losing a job," Amara replied. "Some people lose safety." He hesitated at the door. "Why didn't you tell me who you were?" he asked. "If I'd known." "You should never need to know," Amara said. "That's the whole lesson." Caldwell laughed. No speech. No revenge. Just consequence. Malik's promotion changed the building faster than any poster ever could. Not because he was loud, but because he was consistent. He documented without exaggeration. Corrected without humiliation. Treated residents like clients, not gods. One resident tried the old trick at the desk. "I live here," the resident said. "Don't make it difficult." Malik smiled politely. "I won't make it difficult," he said. "I'll make it documented." Meanwhile, Yuna's life got smaller in the best way. A modest apartment. A clean counter. A window that let sunlight in without making her feel watched. Silence that didn't warn her, it rested with her. The first morning she woke up, she listened to her own breathing like she was learning it again. Her phone sat face up. No secret. No fear. A message arrived from her attorney, protective order confirmed, contact restrictions active, residence access controlled. Yuna read it twice. Then she let her shoulders drop by a fraction, like her bones were learning a new shape. Amara visited once, not with flowers, not with pity. Just a folder. "I brought copies," Amara said. "In case you doubt yourself later." "I keep waiting for my body to panic," Yuna admitted. "It might," Amara said. "But reminded what's different, you're not trapped. And the system knows his name now. He'll still try to punish me." "He'll try," Amara replied. "But punishment requires access. And he's losing access." 2 weeks after the hallway, Yuna returned to the penthouse one last time with a deputy for supervised retrieval. Malik escorted them up. When the doors opened, the space greeted her with familiar luxury and unfamiliar emptiness. It didn't feel like success anymore. It felt like a museum built from silence. She collected only what was hers. No trophies. No mourning. She was there to leave. At the threshold, she removed her wedding ring. Not dramatic, careful, like pulling out a thorn you'd lived with too long. She placed it on the console table. A soft clink. Final. Then she turned away without looking back. In the hallway, she faced Amara. "You kept me from being erased," Yuna said. "I didn't save you," Amara replied. "I just kept the hallway quiet long enough for you to save yourself." Yuna swallowed emotion without letting it spill. "I didn't know you were." Don't, Amara said gently. Don't make my title the reason you respect me. Yuna nodded. I respect you because you didn't need my pain to be dramatic to take it seriously. Amara held that for a beat. That's what dignity is, she said. Taking someone seriously before the world tells you to. The elevator doors opened. Your car is waiting, Malik said. Yuna stepped inside. The doors closed, and her reflection lingered in the mirrored steel, calm, composed, finally free. Then she was gone. Amara remained alone in the corridor. Same warm lights. Same polished wood. Same heavy door, quiet now. But the hallway didn't belong to the loudest man anymore. It belonged to the woman who never needed to shout to be obeyed. Amara walked to the service elevator, not because she was staff, not because she was hiding. Because she chose it. Choice was the simplest form of power. As the door slid open, a brushed metal plaque near the panel caught the light, easy to miss if you weren't looking for ownership. Sterling Hospitality Group, Property Management. The building had always belonged to someone. People just assumed it wasn't her. Amara stepped inside, pressed the button, and as the elevator moved, the corridor fell quiet again, quiet the way it gets after justice has passed through. Not loud. Not messy. Just undeniable.